So Ukraine hit another oil refinery last night. The hits just keep coming, and they're going to keep coming. And I'll explain what happened and what has happened with these refineries and how much capacity and that sort of thing. So here we are with this first story. Firm's data shows that area engulfed in flames. That's what you see on the thumbnail. Seems like Ukrainian drone attack has inflicted serious damage. So when we talk about them being hit, it's not like all the capacity is hit, but there's a certain amount of capacity that has been certainly devastated in the last week or so, week and a half. Ukrainian drones struck oil refineries in Saratov region overnight, sparking fires and sending plumes of smoke into the air. And then here we have Saratov oil refinery, which processes up to 7 million tons of crude annually. Russia's defense ministry reported intercepting 121 drones over Russian oblasts last night. Not all of that was over Saratov. But how much capacity has been hit? This is really interesting. The month of August has not been kind to Russian oil refineries. Refineries representing 14% of Russia's total refining capacity have all found misfortune. Now, that doesn't mean that 14% is offline or anything, because that would mean you'd have to 100% destroy each of these refineries. But on August 2nd, you hit this refinery that I can't pronounce with 3%. Razan refinery, 6%. August 7th, Afipsky refinery, 2.2%. August 10th, Saratov refinery, another 2.5%. And then this morning, Saratov again, this morning was August 10th. And so it's up to 14%. And that's really going to be draining Russia's ability to gain income. It's like pickpocketing them with actual money and just taking out, here's $100 bill here, here's another 50 here, here's another 50 there, another 100 there. That's what's happening to Russia. Okay, this company, the Saratov oil refinery company, produces vital motor fuels and other petroleum products that supply a significant part of Russia's domestic market and military needs. So it's important what they hit here. Again, it can be seen from the NASA firms map. So yeah, I mean, it's big. Okay. Meanwhile, it's also having a second order effect on Sochi Airport. Passengers ate all the food while waiting for their flights. Sochi flight restrictions lasted for several days. Passengers' patience ran out. There were no sandwiches, hot meals left in the airports. Everything was cleared out during the wait. So the drones overnight are having a ripple effect throughout other parts of the country. Okay, let's look at this. What did the Russians do last night? 100 Shahed and other UAVs from multiple directions, including occupied Crimea. Ukrainian air defenses shot down or suppressed 70 drones. That's not a great record. Like they have been hitting, so that's 70%, right? They have been hitting upwards of 85, 90, 95% at some days were knocked down. On the night of August 10th, Russian military attacked Dnipro Oblast with drones, destroying the transport company, the administrative building, and some private houses. But again, if your goal is to simply just smash the population and create a humanitarian disaster, then the Russians are being wildly successful in this. Russian troops struck Druzhkivska, Donetsk Oblast twice on the morning of 10 August, killing one person, injuring two others. About 5 private houses and 2 civilian cars were damaged, according to the regional authorities. Okay, battlefield. Let's look at this. 950 Russians off the battlefield. That's a pretty low number. That's one of the lower numbers over the last couple of months. 950. One tank. I mean, the number of tanks getting hit are also very low as well. And we're not exactly sure if it's you just don't have the tanks, which I don't think that that's it. I think that they have pulled the tanks back beyond drone range. I think that there's more to that. And maybe some of these are being squirreled away for the Belarus games that are about to come up, the Belarus military maneuvers. 1 tank, 4 armored fighting vehicles, 70 artillery systems, and 126 vehicles and fuel tanks. Okay, so engagements are slightly above average, but casualties are lower. If you look at Ragnar Gudmundsson's dashboard, here are the losses Andrew Perpetua could identify. It's the Ukrainians are getting the worst end of the stick here. That's Ukrainian numbers. Here are Russian loss. Here are Russian losses. Ukrainian losses are a little bit lower than the Russian losses. I said that backwards. Please excuse me. Okay, next, cross direction. We look up across. If you're not familiar with me, please consider subscribing. I do these daily updates. We look up across because this is like the high water mark for Russian engagements. The cross direction has only 30 assaults. That's low, but so are the casualty numbers. So this is about consistent. Now I saw this, and this is unusual. Russia is massing forces at the front in Zaporizhzhia region. Russia is moving military equipment and personnel to the front line in Zaporizhzhia region to strengthen its grouping, according to the head of the Center for the Study of Occupation. He published photos and videos described as largest equipment movements in July and August. He added that Russia is also transferring equipment and artillery from Berdansk to the north of the Donetsk region. Okay, so there's movement there, but there was only one assault yesterday, so I wouldn't be terribly worried about what's going on in Zaporizhzhia. Okay, this is a big story, and it's really, really important to understand what's going on here. Just 12 soldiers holding 10-kilometer stretch on the front. Ukraine's manpower crisis is letting Russian forces push forward faster than Kyiv can replace its troops. Okay, there's a real problem here. Here's the article in Radio Free Europe, Radio Free Liberty. Let's start here. Drivers, artillerymen, and cooks are holding the line. It says an officer formerly with the Azov Brigade. A maximum of 12 fighters hold sections 5 to 10 kilometers wide. What? Okay, so you don't have enough artillerymen, so you got to do something. So this is the something that they're doing. The lack of manpower is allowing Russia to employ what Ukraine's commanders-in-chief Syrsky recently called total infiltration tactics. Small infantry groups make it through Ukrainian lines, including into Pokrovsk. So they're not coming in masses, they're coming in small groups. They're harder to find or identify. The brigades responsible for defending these areas have run out of infantry, according to Ukrainian conflict monitoring group Deep State. So they are very low on numbers. Early in the war, the balance was radically different. The lead up to the full-scale invasion in 2022, Russia's army had about 1 million troops, with 150,000 to 190,000 concentrating along Ukraine's borders with Russia and Belarus. So they came in with just under 200,000. Now there are 600,000 and change Russian soldiers in Ukraine. At the time, Ukraine's military had some 260,000 in active service, but the country's mobilized up to 700,000 men by midsummer, handing it a manpower advantage over the Russian forces, who had by then been expelled from the Kyiv region. Russia was forced to conduct a partial mobilization of about 300,000 reservists to stabilize the front lines. But they're not going to full mobilization because Putin doesn't want to have a color revolution. In 2023, Russian recruitment picked up, including thousands of prison inmates. 2025, according to the Military Balance, an annual assessment of military capabilities worldwide, Russian numbers of active duty personnel reached over 1.13 million, with Syrsky claiming some 640,000 of them were on Ukrainian territory, a figure echoed by Russian President Vladimir Putin. While Ukraine's total troop strength is officially over 1 million men, the Warsaw-based Center for Eastern Studies, OSW, says not more than 300,000 of them are deployed to the front lines. And that kind of makes sense. You need rear support in order to get things to the front lines and so on and so forth. Okay. Ukraine is estimated to recruit 17,000 to 24,000 people per month, or between 204 to 288,000 per year. While it had increased its sign-up bonuses, Russian recruitment estimated to have increased at a rate of 30,000 per month, an advantage of roughly 70 to 150,000 per year. So, yeah, but what about the numbers of people that are killed? Yeah, they're killed. The Russians are killed, but so are Ukrainians, right? Russians are casualties, but so are Ukrainians. Not at the same rate. There's a significantly lower rate, but it's not enough to make up this deficit. And then on top of that, you have thousands of AWOL. The most famous example were the Anne of Kiev Brigade, trained in France, had up to 1,700 soldiers go AWOL between March and November back in 2024. Okay, so can Ukraine close the gap? Despite pressure from both the Trump and Biden administration, Ukraine has resisted lowering the draft age to 18. That's a move that would be deeply unpopular with the public. Ukrainian men aged 25 and above can be drafted after the age was lowered from 27 to 25 in April of 2024. The military has begun offering monthly salaries of 120,000 hryvnia. That's about $2,900, and other financial incentives to incentivize men 18 to 24 to volunteer. Hasn't really made up the gap yet. So there is a mismatch in the number of men on the front. Okay, and I saw this today with that. Solid fortifications, but they're useless when there are a few to hold them. So here's Pokrovsk, and you see all this lines of one, they're holding the line here in Pokrovsk, but if they got to Pokrovsk, they still have all these backup lines. So they're not going to like just spread for, just go full on and mobile. And there's not going to be a mobilized movement that's just going to punch through like Hitler's Blitzkrieg. That's not going to happen because of that. But you have to have men to man these lines, and that's problematic. Deep State shows how a large breach all the way to Zoloty Koledaz in northeast of Pokrovsk through numerous fortifications because, no surprise, Ukraine didn't man them. This 15 kilometers from our last known geolocation, but we have little reason to doubt Deep State. So they're punching it through here because, again, there is no one there to man it, because they have a manpower shortage. So it's bad on the front lines. Let's not kid ourselves. That's what's happening there. This video is from a phone of a Russian soldier taken into Ukrainian captivity in the Sumy region. He arrived to liberate Ukraine. He started with looting and destroying civilian homes. So meanwhile, this is what occupies Russian soldiers as much as anything else is, hey, what can we take from these homes that we're liberating? Fiber optic FPVs find and attack a hidden Russian artillery position. Yeah, this is the great relief that the Ukrainian army has, is that the FPV soldiers are carrying so much of the weight. FPV drones are doing so much damage compared to what just normal infantry or normal artillery would have been able to do. Ukrainian fiber optic FPV drone maneuvers in the forest between trees and attacks a Russian UAZ with infantry in it. Yeah, I mean, it can spot it, find it, see what it can do to eliminate it. Right? And these guys are getting out of Dodge because, yeah. Okay, I talked about this yesterday. Putin gave Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, the Order of Lenin. That wasn't for him himself, but I don't know that was totally clear, to deliver to a CIA deputy director. Her name is Julianne Galina. Julianne Galina's son fought for Russia, and he died in Ukraine in 2024. So the Order of Lenin was to be presented to her for her son. That's really, really weird, isn't it? So it's not diplomacy, it's a public humiliation and an insult gift wrapped as an award, but apparently enough to get you an invite to America. And unbelievably, been waiting 11 and this guy's been waiting 11 months for a visa, Sean Pinner. Like, it's just a weird thing that Putin would hand that to Witkoff. Like, it's like, it really was an insult. Okay. Anyway, that's all that I have, my friends. That's it for now. Thank you for the time, the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.